everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Becker, out of Alexandria, Virginia. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Brittney Kosev of Texas from BK Real Estate. Welcome, Brittney.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think we were introduced through a mutual friend, and I'm glad. I always love talking to team leaders that are killing it, and I'm glad that you're on this morning.
Yeah, you too. I'm impressed by all the things that you seem to have your hand in.
Thank you. Well, Brittney, let's get kind of right into it. The whole idea behind the Team Lead Talks podcast is to interview team leaders and kind of hear your how did you become a team leader story. So could you start by just giving us a little bit of a background of how you got into real estate, your start, and then we'll kind of get to the point where you wanted to join a team or start a team and then grow it from there. But let's talk about your beginnings in real estate.
Sure. So my background's actually in education. I was a fourth grade teacher and then got my master's and became a librarian. But about the time that I was getting my real estate license, I was getting a divorce. I needed some extra income, and I have two kids. I'm a single mom, and kids are not cheap. I'm sure you know that.
I have four, so
Yeah.
I 2X'd you there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not imagine having four.
I can't either, trust me.
Yeah, so I got my real estate license at that time and was working in the library during the day, showing houses, calling clients, doing my follow up in the evenings and on the weekends, and the kids would just go with me everywhere. And I did that for about 2 years, working both jobs until I finally felt confident in my skill set, but also financially, right? To leave a salary, to leave benefits, and just pursue real estate full time. And so I did that. And that next year, I tripled my income, which was insane to me at the time. And then the next year, I doubled it. And then I was like, man, this could be something.
You're
And
onto something there.
making more money than I could ever even imagine. I went from making $60,000 a year as a librarian, right, to six figures, and just had all this newfound freedom, because money does a lot of things. But one thing it does is it gives you freedom to make the decisions, right, to guide your life. And so I dived into investing, and I really wanted to grow my portfolio and leave a legacy for the children. But I couldn't do it alone. So I started my own company, my brokerage, BK Real Estate, and just started growing agents and formed a team inside of that for myself and my own production, because I realized you can't do it all. You can't be a top producer and be a great broker. Just, it's a ship that needs sailors with me. And
Right.
so actually I'm pretty fortunate to have family members that both work as admin at the company, my two sisters,
Awesome.
and we have a team, and I'm the team lead. So we're the selling sisters.
Okay. Okay. So you're known as the Selling Sisters you're in Dallas, right? Dallas, Texas. Okay, cool. Well, that's a really cool story. And yes, I agree. Once you have, the capital, it opens up a lot of opportunities. So I'm glad to see that you did that very quick. Not a whole lot of people have that story. Can you talk about how you were able to do basically two full-time jobs over the course of 2 years, and you were a solo agent at that time?
Yes.
How did you can talk about like how you drummed up your business and how you kind of grew from a few deals to four times and then doubling your income?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I didn't mention is when I got my license, I was living in a small town in Texas called Lubbock, and moved to Dallas when I had my license for about a year and a half. So I was basically starting fresh. And those agents that are moving into a new market, or the brand new agents, realize that if you don't have a sphere to tap into, you have to build one, right? And one of the quickest ways to do that, whether it's geo farming and all of that, I didn't have money to do mailers at the time. I just dived into social media and was able to build relationships with investors. And so I built my business through connections with investors.
Okay.
And that's now still the cornerstone of my business.
let's
I have
talk about
several
that.
properties listed now that are flipping clients that I've had forever.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about what that means. You formed relationships with investors. Can you walk us through what a typical investor type of deal for you is and what
Yeah.
you go through?
And I'll tell you guys exactly what, new agents could be doing right now if they want to build this business. I have divisions all across Texas, and I was on the phone with one of my agents in San Antonio last night. She's just really been struggling. She feels like she's been putting in it all. She does the open houses. She's every weekend following up. She pays for Vulcan 7 and a VA. Like, she is doing everything that she thinks she can do. And she's like, I want to work with investors, but I'm just not, it's not happening. And this is what I told her, because this is what I did. I went into all the different Facebook groups in my area, DFW real estate investors of Texas, REI of whatever. I just started joining all these groups. And at first, the first week, I just absorbed. I went in there, I was seeing what kind of things people were posting. What were the other realtors saying? And the other realtors were saying, hey, I'm Brittney. If you ever need a realtor, call me. Of course, no one's going to call you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That there's no value there. That's just you putting out a signal, but no one's going to answer it. Instead, you have to go out and find them. So what I did is I went in there and I said, hey, I'm looking for in buyers in Dallas, Fort Worth. If you're interested in finding a good deal, drop your email below. So what I was doing is I was just curating an email list, right? I was building a list of people who like to buy houses.
Yes.
And so then what I did with that list is I went in and I started finding deals on the MLS that I thought would be good flip opportunities.
Okay.
And of course, I had to do some research. I didn't know exactly what a good flip opportunity was. So I went into bigger pockets. I started understanding what an investor looks for. Is it a 70% rule? Are they looking for a 65% rule? And so I just start finding deals and then emailing them out. Who wants to see this property? It's a great deal. Here are the comps. And I did that. And then I met a wholesaler that at the time he was looking for someone to make cold calls for him.
Hmm.
I've got this list of people who wants to make calls. I was like, well, I've got nothing else going on. I'll make calls.
Right.
And so I started cold calling for my good friend Josh, when we kept our relationship going. In fact, now we co-own a mortgage company together. But he taught me how to callous my mind and hear the word no, and that no is okay. And no is just one step closer to yes, right? And so I now had a wholesaler that liked me and trusted me. And then I also had this curated list
Right.
of investor buyers. So it was a good start.
Hey, sorry about that. Of course, like say in case we get disconnected, it's never happened before. And Riverside just like shut down and said you have no internet connection. And I do have internet connection. So really sorry about that, Brittney.
That's okay. I just don't know where you stopped hearing.
I don't either. The good thing is we can kind of piece this together. It's going to be harder for my marketing team, but let's just start with, if it's cool with you, like you find deals on the MLS and then kind of walk through how you didn't know.
Did you hear about my wholesale friend connection?
We got to that part and then you started kind of like getting choppy.
Okay.
So maybe it would just make sense to start over.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I should stop saying stuff like that. I think I jinxed her. I jinxed myself.
That's
Okay, so we'll take a break. I'll pause for like 5 seconds and then I'll ask you like, how did you get into first deals? Then you can talk about the MLS and wholesaling and your investors. Is that cool?
so okay. We'll just wing it. It's fine.
So Brittney, you were able to build this really kind of fast, expedited business rather quickly, but everyone's got to kind of start somewhere. So can you talk about how how did you get your first deals? What did you do to build your real estate empire so quickly?
Yeah, I love the word empire. I don't know if it's that yet, but I like that. I'll manifest that.
Yeah.
So I would jump into Facebook groups for real estate investors because I knew who is always buying, who doesn't care that they don't know me yet, Well, investors, right? And so I posted in all the different Facebook groups for real estate investors, who's looking for good deals, who's buying in DFW, drop your email below. And then I just got all of these email addresses. And so then I would go into the MLS and I would source good flip properties. I'd research, figure out what exactly an investor is looking for, right? I learned about 70% minus repairs, or shoot for 65% of the ARV, whatever all the tips and tricks are out there. And so I started finding deals with margins, right? Deals where there was a spread. I learned how to calculate the after repair value, and it took a lot of practice, and I got pretty good at it because I'd send out these emails, and investors, they're like, this is a shit deal. Why would you send me this?
You have to be good.
Okay, good point.
Right.
Let me try again. But through my continued activity inside of those Facebook groups, I saw a guy post, hey, I'm looking for cold callers, make whatever in profit. You can start immediately. So I responded to his ad because I was like, well, I mean, I could cold call. It's fine. No big deal. Kids go to bed at 8. I can make calls after. I can get up before them. I can take my lunch break. And that's what I would do. A lot of the teachers and my coworkers would eat in the lounge, right? They'd go in there and gossip and complain about kids or share what kind of meals they were going to cook that night. And I wouldn't. I would just stay in my office. And while they were eating, I was working, right?
You were finding off-market real estate deals for wholesaler investor type while
when I should have been eating my lunch with the teachers.
That's cool. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'd find on-market deals too, right? An investor doesn't care if it's on-market or off-market as long as the deal makes sense.
Right.
But then I had this guy that asked me to start cold calling. So I was like, why not? And that was great for me because as a librarian, no one tells me no. The kids come in, they're getting a book. Here you go.
Yeah.
Now they may not, they get to choose their book, of course. And I believe in the power of reading. So I'm not putting it, down education, obviously. But, I was not told no. The kids always come. My customers always came and they always left satisfied. The only time I had to get upset is when they didn't return it on time. Anyway, I'd never been told no before. And so this was great for me. I started cold calling his lists, trying to help him find good deals. And then, of course, if I found one, I'd get a percentage of the margin. But it taught me how to make cold calls. It taught me how to build rapport quickly. It taught me how to engage in Ford questions. I don't know if you know what Ford is, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
The icebreaker questions.
Yeah. And so it was a skill set I didn't have, and I was able to learn it in a safe way, right? With someone else's money they spent on leads, and I was helping him out. But then he realized quickly, he was like, man, Brittney, you're a licensed realtor. Why don't I use you in that way? And I was like, hey, that's great. And so then he started sending me retail stuff that didn't fit his buy box.
Right. Yeah.
And then we were able to work a relationship that way. And what's cool is when I started my brokerage, his business, which we're still really close friends, was about 60% of my business at the time. But I didn't need it anymore. At that point, I'd have formed relationships. I had my own referral systems. And so when I opened my company, I was able to give out these leads to my agents. And when Josh entered a new market, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, I would enter a new market. And so that's how I was able to build my divisions, because now I had listing leads to provide to my team.
That's awesome. But at this point, are you still cold calling, or have you leveraged and, third partied that out to somebody else on the team?
Yeah, when I opened the brokerage in January of last year. So January of 20, well, this will be 19 months that I've been open about. So it's been fast and furious. And I took all of those leads up until opening the brokerage.
Okay.
But what I do now is I pass those out. We have a round robin system and a CRM, and the agents get those leads, and I really just monitor and help them and assist them.
Okay, cool. So you started going into Facebook groups, kind of just forming relationships with investors, whether or not they really needed those deals or not. You just kept sending them deals, formed a relationship with one, and then it's kind of how it works, right? Like you hit it off with one and you just keep the deal flow going, and
Yeah,
you're
but I
happy.
met other investors through there. I met other flippers that
Yeah,
became my clients. Maybe not as big of a relationship as Josh has become for me. You know, we're now business partners, and our growth pattern has followed the same trajectory. But I have flippers that I still work with from those connections. And so that's something, if I have an agent that comes to me like, man, I really love working with investors. I love that side of things. That's what I tell them. Start forming your email list. One of my favorite books is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
yeah, I've read
You
that.
know
I
that
love that
one?
book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, an interesting way of doing things. And I follow The Miracle Morning. I start my day with that every day. But one of the things he said in his book that he designed for entrepreneurs is your email list is your most valuable asset. It's free to get. And if you curate it, which, you know, former librarian, I'm all about curating things.
Yeah.
When you curate it and you really take care of it, it can make you money 10 times, right? And so building that email list was really important to me at the beginning of my business. And now I have over 6,000 contacts that get my newsletter every 2 weeks.
Awesome. And let's just talk about the audience on that curated list real quick, just in case someone's like, well, who am I sending to and what am I sending? Can you talk about, obviously there's investors on there, I'm assuming, but talk about the audience made up in that 6,000, and then what are you sending them, how often, and how do you come up with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So another great book that all realtors, all team leaders, all brokers should require, if I could make it required, I would, is Ninja Selling.
Okay. I've read that
And
too. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
one.
love ninja
Yeah.
selling. And ninja selling is really about relationships. It's about staying in flow with your database. But one of the things that he talks about in there is the fact that each person is either very art oriented or they're very analytical, math oriented. And so in newsletters, in email blasts, you have to really make sure that you're targeting both types of people if that's the referral system you want. If
Mhm.
you're sending out a monthly newsletter that's a market update and it's just data, 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 you're not going to get the gentleman that really is looking for an artsy place that he can vibe and build an amazing shed to paint. Like that's not who you're going to get. You're going to get investors, right? You're going to get the engineers who want to make sure that they're buying the very best deal with the biggest return in the highest appreciation market. And so it really depends on who you're trying to go after. So in my newsletter, where I used to have strictly a investor heavy business, I don't want that, need that as much anymore. Right now, I'm trying to focus my business right where I live. I'm a very busy person. I'm still a single mom. My kids are 11 and 13 and active, and I'm active in PTA and I want to be in their life. So I want my business here where I live. I don't want to drive 30 miles to show houses. And
Right.
plus, I want to be able to support the brokerage. So I need to target my campaigns now to the housewives that I know from PTA, to the husbands who really want to have a great spot near the golf course. You know, it's that kind of advertising that I do now. And so in my newsletters, I'll put local events, right? That's hitting that art side of the brain. But then I also put mortgage info and hey, here's what's going on with stocks and bonds and how it's directly affecting. So we're getting the analytical too. And so I try to blend it because that's the type of clients that I'm looking for now.
Okay, cool. And Brittany, you've got a lot going on. I know you're still an active, investor in sales, sounds like, and you're building like a pretty awesome active brokerage across the entire state of Texas. Are you physically going in and writing these emails, or do you have a team? What's the makeup, and how do you find what's out there? Because I think
That's
a lot
such
of people struggle with that part of it.
that's a good question. And I am not the person that can tell you the exact system for finding and hiring a VA. That's not me, and that doesn't work with my personality type. What works with my personality type is finding people that I know, love, and trust. And so I have my two sisters. And so Bree is my little sister. She's the director of growth and development at the company. She handles our lead flow. She handles marketing and social media. She helps me with trainings. But she's also on my team with the selling sisters. And then I have my sister-in-law, Alex, who's married to our brother, and she's
Okay.
our director of operations. She loves being behind her computer, working the day-to-day stuff. But she's also on the Selling Sisters. She does our data input for the MLS. She handles our TC services. So those two ladies, I could not do the brokerage or production without them. But then I also have a right-hand man, my executive assistant, and I met her because I own Airbnbs and short term rentals. And I put an ad out on Facebook for a cleaner. I had so many people apply. And she came and I interviewed her, and I was like, man, this girl is so put together. Why does she want to clean my Airbnbs? But okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to look
Right.
a gift horse in the face or whatever that saying is. And she started cleaning, but then she stepped up in other ways. She said, hey Britt, I was driving by and I noticed the trash cans were out. I pulled them in. Hey Britt, I noticed we were out of toilet paper, so I went ahead and ordered some, and yada yada yada. So that kind of stuff, I was like, man, she is a self-starter. She's motivated. She's a go-getter.
Yeah.
And so when I started needing extra help just in my life, in my business, the kind of stuff that my sisters were already tapped out on, I asked her to come on full time for me as a salaried position and be my executive assistant. So she designs my newsletters.
Okay.
I provide the content. But what's great is she every couple of weeks will like, Britt, what are we putting in this newsletter? I need a video from you. I need something. But she doesn't wait for me to do everything. She knows what I want.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That's a really cool story.
It is a cool story. I wish I could say, hey, look, here's what you need to do. And maybe it is. Maybe what you need to do is look in your circle. If you're a person that you can spot that talent, trust your gut,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That's really cool. I love that. So let's dive into like more about how you attract, retain for your brokerage. I know you have your team, the Selling Sisters, with you and your two other sisters, but actively trying to attract people to a team, to a brokerage. This is really hard stuff. I was checking out your website. You've got a lot of people. How are you doing that? Can you talk about like, when you first started, I think you had said or I read your team started in 2023. You mentioned like it's been about 19 months.
Yeah,
So
January of
call it
2023.
about 2 years. You've got a lot of people working with you and you're expanding into different markets. Talk about how that process works and how you get the talent across Texas.
You know, we have yet to pay for advertising or direct recruiting. I mean, we do a little recruiting. I've got some great people that love to go out there and share what we do and who we are. But as far as like putting money into Facebook ads or things like that, we don't do that. Everything has kind of been natural and organic in the sense of uh, bring people on if you want to, if you're happy here. And I know that seems cliche, but we have at the brokerage about 95 agents across Texas and the majority came on because they believe in what we're doing. And it's corny, but I really do wake up every day thinking about how I can be a better person, a better broker, a better sister, better mom. And when you live like that, when you have that mindset, I just feel like good things follow. Law of attraction.
Yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like you don't really actively pay for recruiting, but when you have someone that you think is a good fit, is that like someone that you're an agent, they're the buyer agent maybe on one of your listings and you work with them. Is that how you're kind of
Absolutely. I
forming?
mean, we try and recruit people. We try and recruit great people. If someone's in a like let's say, and I'm sure you follow some of these same groups like Real Estate Mastermind or Shift Talk or some of the big real estate groups, right? If someone's in there, I'm in Dallas and I'm frustrated with my brokerage. Can anybody recommend some, right?
Right.
My DFW agents will go in there and be like, oh my gosh, BK Real Estate. Then my sister, Bree, or me, or just brought on a division leader for Dallas so that I could kind of take a step back and be more of the broker for everyone because I was doing both.
Yeah.
One of them will go in and try and set up a time to chat with them. So nothing crazy or hard, just hey, let's connect. Let me tell you what we're about. Let me tell you our mission, our goals, our core values, and see if we're a fit.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I imagine too, like when I was building our team in Washington, D.C., it was like when you're sitting across the closing table and you're like, man, this, this guy or this girl did an amazing job, so proactive. You kind of just spark up conversations that way.
Yeah,
And you're like, would you like to learn about how we do things here? Kind of like what you did. And it works. And they're like, man, you were also, professional. Because that is, as much as I would like to say it doesn't happen a lot, there are a lot of unprofessional types that are hard to work with, aren't really responsive, make it really, really difficult on you on the other side. But then when you have like the complete opposite and you're like you're the person that you hired for your Airbnbs, they just kept impressing you and impressing you and impressing you. That's for me personally, it sounds like for you too. That's like, man, if they're doing this for like my Airbnb, what else would they like to do? And I like that person. I love going
absolutely.
with gut feeling. And the biggest part for me, I've been doing this for like 11, 12 years now in all the companies that I'm currently kind of involved in. I just want to work with people that I like get excited about.
Yes.
Toxic people can be really harmful on any environment. So I'm at a point in my life and I'm like, Brittney, if we don't get along, I don't think, in this deal, we won't get along if we work together every day. I want to be happy to
Exactly.
see you and happy and excited for your growth and not, the jealous type, that kind of thing. So
Yep.
that was always a big kind of like trust your gut, but are they going to be a good fit like you just said? So that's
It's a little different, I think, when you're building a team, like a true team versus being a broker owner, right? At the end of the day, I don't want to turn anyone away that wants to come and hang their hat under the BK umbrella. But at the same time, culture is important. But what I've learned is with this many agents and me only being one person is who do I give my time and energy to, right? And so we may take everyone to and welcome them and teach them and help them, but who am I personally coaching? Who am I on the phone with? And like I said, I was on the phone with a girl yesterday for about an hour, and an hour of my time is a lot. I was in my room not hanging out with my kids so that I could help her and coach her, but I can't give that to everybody. And so I think understanding, you know who's giving to you, who gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling versus this doesn't feel right, I feel like they're taking my energy. Yeah, you have to trust your gut.
no, I like that. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. That's really good advice. It's almost as like it's harder. It gets easier to say no the more kind of like conversations you have when people are takers. And as a leader, whether you're a team leader or a broker leader or both in your case, saying no is a really really effective way to not have that time sucked out of your life, right?
I think and that's one of the hardest things for me. I have invested in the wrong people.
Yeah.
I've been burnt. And when those people left, which our retention is really high at the brokerage, but I've given to people maybe too much, and when they left, it hurt too much. And so back when I was getting a divorce, I went to therapy, as I hope that a lot of people would do as they're transitioning and major things like that. My therapist then transitioned to my life coach when I really didn't need therapy anymore. But I built this relationship with him, this bond, and so he became a life coach for me. And he helped me kind of get to the point where I felt comfortable opening this brokerage.
Hmm.
I opened the brokerage, and then I realized I need a business coach. And which is so funny, the universe works in crazy ways. He was actually in the middle of getting his business coach program set up.
Oh wow.
And it was just like this alignment. And so now James is the business coach for the brokerage, and he works directly with me and my leadership team, as well as the agents. He'll do special trainings and coaches just about being a well rounded, healthy individual. But one of my favorite things that he says, and can I cuss on this podcast?
I think you already did. So yeah, go ahead.
Shit.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
go ahead.
But
Say whatever you want.
one of the things he said is, I do have trouble saying no. And he's like, Brittany, If it is not fuck yes, then it is hell no. Because
Yeah.
whenever we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else, right? And so
Yeah.
if it's not firing me up inside, if these people are not firing me up that I'm coaching and spending time with, then it needs to be no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Right. You got to move the needle to the right. And I think I just found the tagline for this episode. We'll have a lot of asterisks and like bleep outs, but that's good. I love that. I've never heard it like that, but yeah, saying no is huge because you probably want to grow, you want to scale, you want to do things that are going to move your needle, add revenue, top line, bottom line revenue, and you can, day after day, if you say yes to everyone, you go through in a day and you're like, what did I actually do? I didn't really accomplish
Or
anything.
even every business. I mean, I have three businesses, right? I've got my brokerage, I've got production, and I have a holdings, well, actually four, a holdings company with my assets, and I'm part owner of this mortgage company. I don't do a lot for it, but there is some responsibility and tasks that I need to be part of. But other things keep popping up. People ask me to do a title company, or people ask me to do this or that, or let's get a partnership going and buy something. One thing that I've started to really think about, and it also came from a podcast that I listened to the other day, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but he says, get really good. I mean, like 10 times good at what you're doing now, because it is so much easier to better one thing and you'll make more money than if you put your hand in everything. But us and you, I'm sure, Andrew, as someone who does this too, as entrepreneurs, we get bored, right? Like I get a little bored. I've been saying lately, like, I don't want to do production anymore. But why? I mean, I love real estate. Why don't maybe I need to focus in? So that's what I'm trying to do now. Focus to my community. Sell here. 10 times good at it before I try something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I get bored, but then I'll like I haven't done sales in a few years now. I'm not even licensed anymore, but every now and then I'll like miss that like going on a showing with a buyer and just like being
Or
out in
like
the field.
negotiating the deal or landing the contract, right? Like, yes, we got it
Yeah.
executed. Oh, we made it through inspection timeline. Ah.
Right, right, right. And then getting to the closing table. Yeah, I kind of miss that. But also, I feel like I've been there. I did that for a very long time. And I'm grateful enough that the experience that I gathered running and operating the team and doing sales kind of led me to my other spin-off businesses. They're all real estate related, but like
Yeah.
the software company and CRM operating system, the lead gen, I learned all that from being in it for such a long time. And now I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll get back to sales one day, but maybe not. But I'm having fun now.
And you know yourself and you know what you want. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes we as entrepreneurs jump too fast. And I am guilty of that. I track things, right? I track when I make changes, and I'm kind of a 2 year person. Every 2 years, I feel like I need to shake things up or do something different. But now I'm trying to sit, to sit in where I'm at. Doesn't mean I can't perfect it. I need to 10 times it. I need to make my life easier. And that's where the systems come in, right? You and I met because I was curious about your software. How can that help me, grow my business in a different way? And so I think when we jump too soon to the next endeavor, to the next idea, to the next, lead generation method, even you could go as simple as that. You don't give something the shot that it deserves. You're not maxing out your return.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that lately. I feel like you can very easily dip your hand in a lot of different pots and then you kind of don't get anything done and you're so stretched thin. So it's very hard for me personally. I don't know if anyone else shares in this or you, but like keeping focus on one, kind of like the one thing. That's another great book.
Yeah.
I know I need to live by that way and that motto, but I'm like another opportunity, and I'm just like a curious person, so I always want to hear when it's like, hey, I have an opportunity, will you hear me out? I rarely say no to that, and maybe that's bad, maybe it's good, I don't know, but it's led,
Listening. It's not.
yeah, it's
It
led
seems to
to
be working really well for you.
yeah, yeah. So that kind of stuff leads to, really exciting new things. But I think it is really, really important to, like what you're saying, like 10x something. Just try. So is that your brokerage right now? That's where your focus is. I know you're coming up on that 2-year anniversary. Are you gonna make a radical shift anywhere, or is it kind of like gonna? Can you walk us through where you think the future of that is headed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I told you that we really haven't been heavy in recruiting, but I have ostentatious goals. I have goals of big things, and I follow the EOS model, the entrepreneurial operating system
From
traction.
Traction?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've read like all the same books. I'll share my book list with you
Yeah,
afterward.
yeah, yeah. I want to hear yours. Like what gaps do I
Yes.
have?
Yeah, yeah.
But he talks about your 10-year target, then your 3-year, and then your 1 year, and then you break it down into rocks, right?
Right.
Every quarter is a different rock and you've got different goals. And I put some very lofty goals for the brokerage in place at the very beginning. And we've been naturally just growing. But to hit the goals that I want to hit, I need to step it up. I need to 10 times this. And so I've got to find why I can't and then fix that problem. So if I'm not actively recruiting and it's more organic, then let's try that, right?
Right.
I don't ever want to be the obnoxious marketers where they're texting you and calling you and it's just crazy. But I do want to do more of what has been working so far, but in a better way. And what's been working so far is sharing our message, our vision of who we are, inviting people to come to our sales meetings, like see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I've got to get in front of more people for that. So we've been designing a recruiting website
Okay.
and hired a videographer and a website designer just so we can push it out a little bit more.
Cool. That's awesome. Brittany, if you don't mind sharing, you have about 100 people in the brokerage now, right? Where do you see this in the next, 3 years, 5 years?
Man, Andrew, if I tell everybody, then everybody's going to hold me to it. And I love that because I believe that, believe what you put out there, what you think about, you get more of. Law of attraction. I said it again. I'm that person. I have a she shed. I'm a hippie. I've got pigtails. But I want to be, the most well-known brokerage in the United States.
That's
I
awesome.
want to be the next Keller Williams, right? My 10-year is 10,000 agents. Going back, then it's 3,000 agents, and you just break it down all the way. Because I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the message we give. I believe in our sales meetings and our strategies and our tactics. And I believe that I can help agents make more money.
That's awesome. And I love that you weren't afraid to say that. That is a massive statement to make, but that's where people start, right? People start with one agent, and then, Keller Williams, whatever other brokerages out there started with where you were, and they had ambitious goals. And I love that you just said that. Really, that was very
Well, and it was
powerful
scary to
statement.
say. And when you asked, there was a seed of doubt, right? Like, do I say this out loud? Is everyone going to think I'm crazy? But at the same time, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares if people think I'm crazy? If it's not fuck yes, then it's hell no.
Yeah, I love that. You're not going to become a nationwide brokerage if you never say it or talk about it or write it down. Like how would that
Right.
happen if that's not in your mind?
Exactly. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I'm a big fan of the way he built his life and business, but he would sit in his Austrian home as a child and he would stare at these bodybuilder posters, and every day he would picture himself in the United States lifting weights and being famous and being a celebrity. And if it didn't line up with that, then he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so visualization, it's a real thing. If you can't believe it, why would anybody else believe it?
Yeah. I don't want to make this episode about visualization and manifestation, but lately I have been getting into like Project 369 and different things out there. I love reading. It sounds like you do too, since you've rattled off like a few books here. But I like reading business books, finance books, CEO type of books to hear their stories. And now I'm into manifestation and like the secret kind of stuff. If you
Yeah.
have any of those, I love, off after the episode, I'd love to
Yeah.
get
Well, I mean,
your
there's one right here, right? Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
yep.
Big one, big believer of that. I mean, yes, I'm all about it. I will share.
Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. But let's go back to your really ambitious goals. Talk about where you are in the state of Texas and kind of like I'm sure there were pain points when you went from Dallas to San Antonio, I think you mentioned,
Yes.
Austin. Everyone has pain points. It's not as easy as it really looks. When I went to your website, I'm like, man, they're all over Texas, but it's not like simple. Talk about, the hurdles that you had to get through and how hard it was. It was like, can we hear a little bit about like your expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll even tell you a little story that just recently happened. In real estate, people think, okay, it's a transaction business, and it is in a way, but it's a relationship business. It's a relationship business with your clients, but then as a broker owner, my clients are now my agents, right? I need to keep them happy, engaged, and believing in what we're doing. Sometimes I mess that up. Sometimes I invest in the wrong people. Sometimes I say things that come across in a way that wasn't intended, or they hear what I wasn't meaning to say. And that recently happened. And I have division leaders in all of my divisions, right? And in Houston, the way we handle the leads is I tell everyone, hey, if you get a lead from us, it is you pay your split back into the brokerage, but then if you turn them into a client in the future, they're yours.
Okay.
I don't want to split from you.
Right.
And that's how I handled most of the leads. But I failed to mention that there's a few core accounts, investors that I work with that operate all over Texas. And I gave a lead out, did a great job, the agent did. And then another deal came through, but it was in a different area. And I didn't clearly state that there are key accounts. And so you don't get to refer that to one of the agents. That comes back to us and it filters. And so sometimes things like that happen where my head is over here and I'm big and I'm going places and I fail to communicate or I find a bottleneck. And that's where it goes back to the people business, right? My relationship with my division leaders and my agents are so important to me. I want them to believe in what we're doing and I want them to know that I will make mistakes and I will screw things up, but work with me, trust me. And so that just happened and it was hard and it was a hard conversation that I had to have. And part of it I was tearing up and crying and by the end though we were laughing and hopefully we're in a better place now. But things
Yeah.
like that happen and it doesn't just happen once, it happens over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really great lessons learned. One of our 10 core values that we have for our team is hold yourself accountable. But that's also for like me too, because I would screw up sometimes and like not tell someone about an appointment. But the key, Brittany, you kind of hit the nail on the head there is like communicate, say when you did something inadvertently, whether it was intentional or not, like talk to them, talk it through if the relationship is a great relationship, you don't want to just like burn it and then, one thing happens and it's gone. But that open communication, finding the win win, growing together, it's just going to make that person, him or her, be like, man, Brittany really cares about me. She was like emotional. She didn't really mean to hurt my feelings if that's what happened. But she
Yeah.
admitted that, whatever happened, shouldn't have happened and you work together to make sure that it hopefully never happens again. But there
Yep.
are also people that do the opposite and just say, here's how it is, if you don't like it, get out. And that's okay, like to each his own, right? Leadership style. I'm more towards your style and just open communication in general.
Yeah. And I believe back to like the law of attraction and that whole manifestation visualization. I know you didn't want to do that, but I did it. Sorry.
It's okay.
Just the people that are meant to be with us and work with us are going to find us, right? And what we put out, we get more of. And so I know, and I feel that way with my agents. People say all the time, like, real estate is so competitive, it's saturated, and they have all these excuses of why they don't want to talk to the other agent across the table, or if another agent moves into their neighborhood, that's a bad thing. But it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Your clients are going to find you and you're going to find them. Their clients are going to find them. We are going to be drawn and work with the people that we're meant to be drawn and work with if we're putting out what we really truly believe in.
Yeah, no, I love that. Brittney, I know you're very busy and this has been really awesome. My goal with the podcast is always like if one person out there is struggling or doing really well and picks up like one thing that they can kind of move the needle for, I think we've like done our job. This has been really, really insightful. I do really want to get your manifestation books. If you have any others you can share, I'm not joking about that. But I know you're a rock star down in Texas. You're absolutely crushing it down there. Anyone that might be listening that is an agent struggling in Texas or a buyer or a seller in Texas, how can one get in touch with Brittney and your BK real estate team?
Yeah. So me personally, I'm on Instagram at BrokerBrittK. And we have a website, bkrealestatetx.com. And through there, there's a contact form, and we'd be happy to connect. But Instagram, if you have direct questions for me, and then our website, if you'd like to learn more about us.
Cool. And for those listening, we'll include that in the description of the episode as well. So look below, and you can reach out to Brittney if you need help, or if you're looking to join an amazing team.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Andrew.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Brittney. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.